Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few weeks ago, Special Counsel Durham confirmed the FBI had bias against President Trump and took unprecedented steps to go after him during the 2016 presidential election. The Durham report showed, 1, the FBI did not have an adequate basis to launch the investigation. 2, it didn't verify or examine all of the evidence. And 3, the FBI was politically charged against then-candidate Trump. This, of course, was before your time. But here we go again. In August of 22, the FBI raided the personal residence of President Trump. This unprecedented raid was a shocking escalation in what we talk about with the weaponization of the federal government against political opponents. You know, our country is almost 250 years old. We've had 46 presidents. This is unprecedented. When we say it's unprecedented, we mean it. This has never been seen before in our country's history. Just like we saw in the Durham report, the FBI did not follow traditional protocols, and this investigation was chock full of abnormalities. So I kind of want to go into those a little bit. Director Wray, as you know, the committee recently conducted a transcribed interview with Stephen D'Antuono, the former assistant director in charge of the FBI's Washington field office. He has over 20 years of FBI experience, and he expressed some strong concerns with your department's handling of the case, the DOJ's handling of the case. The first abnormality deals with the FBI office that they conducted the raid themselves. Director Wray, generally speaking, which FBI office oversees Palm Beach, Florida?
The Miami office has an office in Palm Beach, but to the question you're asking, it's not unusual for a field office that is investigating the case to send the case team down to be involved in conducting a search.
And President Trump's residence is in Palm Beach, Florida, is that correct?
Yes.
Director Wray, did the Miami field office conduct the investigation and search at Mar-a-Lago?
The Washington field office conducted the search, although I think there was some assistance by people from the Miami office.
But it was primarily run out of Washington and not the Miami field office.
Which was the case team that had opened the investigation.
Did the FBI
based on a referral from the National Archives, which is in D.C.
Did the FBI headquarters in Washington instruct the Washington field office to start that investigation and that raid at Mar-a-Lago?
Well, the investigation was opened in the field by the Washington field office.
Right. So it was not Miami, it was Washington.
And the Washington field office opened the investigation based on a referral from the National Archives, which is also in D.C. So that made sense.
Who made the decision to have the Washington field office execute that search warrant rather than the Miami field office?
I can't speak to the specific individual. As you know, this is an ongoing case, and internal deliberations about
I'm not asking about the facts of the case. I'm asking about who made the call to go to Washington and use the Washington field office as opposed to Miami? Would that have been you?
Well, no, the Washington field office opened the investigation because they're the office where the National Archives is, which is what referred the investigation and kicked off the whole investigation.
Director, on May 15, 2023, the FBI, your special counsel, or excuse me, not your special counsel, your general counsel sent a letter to Special Counsel Durham in response to his report. In that letter, the FBI wrote, quote, FBI executive management has instructed investigations to be run out of the field and not from headquarters. So despite the location of the search occurring in the territory of the FBI's field office, the Washington field office instructed the raid. This is inconsistent with the FBI statement from 2 months ago. I want to move on to a second abnormality.
I'm sorry, it's actually not inconsistent.
I've got 1 minute left. Well, I got 1 minute left, Director. Now, is it normal for a U.S. attorney to be assigned to an investigation, a high-profile investigation?
Well, that's a decision that's made over at the Justice Department as to how they allocate responsibility.
That's normal protocol, is that correct?
I mean, there are investigations, prosecutions in cases that are handled by Main Justice. There are trial attorneys there, but again, I only speak to the FBI's decision-making, not to the Justice Department.
And a U.S. attorney was not initially assigned to this investigation, were they?
I think that's correct, but again, I would refer you to the Justice Department for any questions about U.S. attorneys versus Main Justice.
And the third abnormality that I find really troubling, probably the most troubling, quite frankly, is the FBI did not first seek consent to search the residence, did they?
Well, there is a very detailed filing in court that goes through in fairly excruciating detail the process that was followed that led up to the execution of the search. And it goes through in great detail the efforts that were made to secure documents. Because this case is now pending and moving forward in federal court, I want to respect that and not engage in more discussion beyond. But
Here's-
other than refer
here's
you
the
to the
frustration,
filing, which
Director,
lays
that I-
out in great detail, I
Here's
think,
the
the answers
frustration
to
that
your
I see,
questions.
Director. That the Durham report laid out very clearly that in cases, just in general, that you cross every T and dot every I. That was not done here. You didn't run it out of the field office. You didn't have a U.S. attorney assigned to the case. Senior officials did not listen to people on the ground, as the testimony of Mr. Dan Tuono talked about. You didn't ask for consent from their attorney. You didn't ask for a consent search, despite the president having cooperated and handed over documents for a long period of time. And you refused to wait for President Trump's own attorney to get to Mar-a-Lago to do this with you. And so what has changed since Durham? You've acknowledged this in 2023 that things should be run out of the field, that you've made internal process changes, but nothing has really changed since 2016, and that's my big concern. With that, I yield back.
I could not disagree more, but we'll just have to disagree on that one.